Welcome, 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 and surprise. I know I told some of you all last week that I was not going to be here this week, but I had a change in plans, so here I am. So, first of all, I want to thank you all for joining me. Today is Friday, June 30th, 2023. It's the last day of the month, you all. Tomorrow is July, so that means time is flying. I appreciate each and every one of you all coming and joining me on Real Estate, Real Life, Real Talk, and Real Live with Damon, the agent that is I, your host. So, I want to begin my show like I always do when I talk about the latest real estate trends and what's going on in the wonderful world of real estate. So again, let me begin. Now, as you all see, the title is Q&A, which means questions and answers. That's been very popular the past couple of weeks. So because it's been very popular, I want to continue with it. And I already have some questions to start off. So let us begin with the first question. The question I have today is, what are some mistakes to avoid when purchasing a home? Some of the mistakes to avoid when purchasing a home. That is an excellent question, and I'm glad it was asked. Some of the questions that some people can avoid is overextending themselves as far as their means are concerned. Some people have what we would like to call champagne taste with beer money, and what that means. Oops, thought this was off. I'm sorry, you all. And what that basically means is when people have been approved for a home loan, some people tend to always want to look at houses that are out of their price range. One of the things that people can do to save themselves a lot of heartache and headaches is to stay within their approval amount or below. For example, if you've been approved for a $400,000 home, please do not go into open houses looking at $700,000 properties, $1 million homes, because what that's going to do is when you begin to look at homes that are within your price point, you are going to become discouraged because now the ones that were priced higher are more appealing to you, and the ones that were within your price range do not appeal to you as much. So one of the things that as realtors, I like to tell my clients is please stay within your means, and also please don't just go through to open houses because you were driving, because sometimes you don't know the price of those houses. And I know sometimes people say, oh, we just want to see, but what it does is it creates an issue where you start to go see houses in your price range, and then none of the houses that you are seeing within your price range is appealing to you, because now you're so stuck on that house that was priced twice as much you can afford and has that nice kitchen, that nice size bedroom, and everything like that. So that is one way, one thing to avoid when purchasing a home. Another thing is making sure that you get fully approved before you start to even look at homes. Nowadays, most realtors, especially experienced realtors, will not even show you any houses unless you have been approved. But there are open houses that go on. And again, like I just mentioned, sometimes people go into these open homes, they fall in love, and then they come to find out later on that the houses are not within their affordability price point range. So then sometimes people can struggle to buy homes, but then they end up being what we call house poor, meaning you're living in a home, you're not eating normal, you might be eating oodles and noodles, your house may not be furnished, you're just struggling just to maintain the mortgage alone, and you're not even paying and living a comfortable lifestyle because you purchased this home that was not within your price point. So one of the things we like to do is tell people to stay within your price point, but to get approved first, because once you get approved for a home loan, that tends to break down and explain the affordability. It gives you an estimate of what the what your approval amount is, what your mortgage will be like, what the taxes and insurance will be like, things of that nature. And also if you're within an HOA community, what the HOA is going to be, and making sure that you can afford that. So those are some of the things that you can avoid when buying a home. Okay. The other question was, what are some of the things to do when of what are the mistakes to avoid when selling your house? And that's another excellent question. So some of the things that people can do, and let me put this up right here at the bottom, open for questions and answers. You can post them now, and if you also have any questions, because I'm going through the questions that I already had. So here's the thing: what are some of the mistakes you can avoid when selling your home? Some of the mistakes that you can avoid is, one, do not overprice your home. See, here's the thing: when the market is hot, you know, everybody wants to put their house on the market. Everybody thinks their house is worth more than their neighbor's house. And in some cases it may be, and in some cases it's not. You know, I've met with many sellers who said, oh yeah, I put this chandelier here, we painted on the inside, but their house may be one bedroom smaller and 500 square feet smaller than the house that sold across the street, but they still feel like their house is worth more, and the house cross street was totally renovated. So do not overprice your house. And then you have to pay attention to the market. This is a big reason why a real estate professional is needed. Some people think with HGTV, Zillow, Redfin that they can do things themselves, and unfortunately, many people find out the hard way is not as simple as people think. They think that because all of the information that's been given through to technology, but what you all don't know that most realtors know is you'll have limited information compared to an actual realtor. You all don't have the same information that realtors have. So we see things that you all don't. And we know this is the reason why this is our profession. You know, just like, you know, you can self-diagnose yourself when you're sick, but you go to a doctor because that is a professional. So the same thing, do not overprice your house. That's one. Number two is hiring the right realtor. That is very crucial because here's the thing, when the market is hot, like it has been since 2020, but then when it starts to cool off, you know, only a skilled, experienced, and knowledgeable realtor is going to be able to get you, the seller, the results that you want. So having and hiring an experienced realtor that can get the job done, such as myself, is very crucial to a mistake to avoid. Number three, always have your property showing ready, meaning your house can't be junky, it can't be a mess, it can't have clutter and junk everywhere, because what you may not know that I tell my sellers is this: a lot of people, especially adults, have ADHD. They may not have been diagnosed with it, but they have ADHD. So when buyers come into homes, what tends to happen sometimes is they get distracted by all the mess and clutter that they see when they walk in. You know, one time I took a lady with me, she brought a girlfriend with her just to go with her while we were viewing houses. When we went into the house, I turned around because I didn't see the girlfriend anymore. And the girlfriend was standing on the side looking at the lady pictures and looking at all her things. And I'm like, listen, first of all, you're not buying the house, so you have to stay along with us. But what I'm saying is, though, is people get distracted by what's in your house. So to declutter things, keep it clean, you know, have it showing ready, helps to keep the buyer's focus on what your house has to offer. Therefore, that particular buyer may want to make an offer on your home. But if you have your house in a mess, you know what I'm saying, you're not going to get the offer you want. You're not going to get the traffic you want. You know, people are going to avoid it. And even when people go in there and see it, some people are going to actually turn around because it's a mess. They don't want to go through mess and stuff. Keeping it clear and free as possible helps with selling your property. Now, those are some of the mistakes to avoid when selling your home. You know, you can always call me. I'm always available to elaborate furthermore. I'll put my number and information right there. And before I go to the other questions, I'm gonna go to this one right here. It said, if someone wants to sell their house, do you recommend they paint it and do? Let me put this up. If someone wants to sell their house, do you recommend they paint it and do some upgrades such as new flooring before they contact a realtor to start the selling process? My recommendation would be to contact the realtors first. As realtors, we have a lot of connections with contractors, people, and sometimes we can get you the best deal on getting paint job, getting flooring, getting these things. And a lot of times you will not pay that. You won't pay for it up front. What ends up happening is with the discount that you would get from a realtor such as myself, you'll end up having that money come out of your equity, and you'll pay for that at the end, rather than you going in there doing it yourself. I had a seller who last year they did some upgrades themselves. So when people went in there to get the work, to look at the house, they knew that a professional had not done it. So, to get someone to paint it and all these other things, yes, those things are good, but speak with a real estate professional, because we can give our professional opinion and advice on what can and cannot be done and what should and should not be done. Because here's the thing, sometimes depending on your house, depending on the location, will determine if these things need to be done. Sometimes these things don't need to be done because they're not going to add much value to your house to the point where you're going to get that money back or recoup it back. And in some cases, they will. So it just really depends. But speaking with a real estate agent, real estate professional will help you to know what you need to do and what you don't need to do. Because sometimes people will spend money and they'll just actually lose that money because they're not going to recoup it back when they sell the property. So they could have sold the property as is anyway, and then they would have still kept that money in their pocket. Great questions. Keep the questions coming, you all. So let me go to the next question on my thing. Hold on. Okay. When is the right time to buy and or sell? That is a great question. Now here's the thing. There's always, and I'm gonna say this as a professional because I've sold houses every month of the year throughout my career. Every time I've sold houses throughout different various market shifts, and that means when it's been a buyer's market, when it's been a seller's market. I always say that the time to buy is always now if you can. And the reason why I say that is because the price of houses continuously rises. If you go back to, let's say, just the 2000, you'll see the houses that were priced in 2000 the price higher today in 2023. If you go back from 2000 and go back to 1980, the same thing. I always say right now is the best time to buy. Now, if some people have to hold off, because sometimes people do have to hold off, I would say that the best time of the year to buy will be during the winter time. And the reason why during the wintertime is the best time to buy is because it's cold outside. A lot of people don't like moving. For one, the days are shorter. And because of that, many people are not going to even go look at houses when the sun sets at 4 p.m. during the wintertime and when it's freezing outside. They don't want to go out and look at houses. They don't want to move in the wintertime. So if you're a person who really needs to move, the wintertime will be the best time because those people don't want to go look at houses. A lot of times when houses are sitting on the market, and always this depends upon location, a lot of times those houses tend to sit longer. And if a house sits longer on the market, the price always becomes up for negotiation if it's been on the market for a while. So I would suggest that the best time during the year will be the winter time to purchase a home. And then when it pertains to just in general buying, right now is always the best time because the price of houses continuously rise. Now, interest rate and everything are going to fluctuate. And I'm gonna come back to when is the best time to sell, but I'm gonna talk about interest rate because that was another question that I had. Hold on, let me pull it up. Someone asked, what is today's current interest rate? Okay, so today's current interest rate, now when I last looked at it, it was 6.5. So let me see what today's current interest rate. I gotta look it up real quick. Okay, so it's slightly above 7% right now. That is today's current interest rate. It is slightly above 7%. So the interest rate is going to always fluctuate, you all. If you all look at over time, interest rate has never stayed the same. Of course, the lower the interest rate is always makes your payments lower, but it's the same thing when you buy a car. Most people who look at car commercials on TV and they see 0% interest rate. Those are people for A1 credit. If you don't have A1 credit, then you have to understand you're going to pay a higher interest rate. But here's the good thing that most people should know. You can always refinance, people. Do not be stuck on the interest rate of today because your credit can change within 2 to 3 months and you can refinance to lower that interest rate. And then when it pertains to mortgages and everything, you can buy down the interest rate. Now, I would strongly suggest for you to speak with a mortgage lender to elaborate more so on you buying down, but you can definitely buy down the interest rate. So let me go back to the other question. The other question was, when is the right time to sell? Now, again, like I mentioned, when it pertains to buying, I'm going to say right now is the right time to sell. Now, if you're talking about during the year, the best time to sell is during the spring and summertime. Because just like I mentioned with wintertime, where less people are out and less people are viewing homes and houses may tend to stay longer on the market, in the summertime, more people are out looking at homes. The days are longer, and a lot of families, especially people who have young children, always want to get into a home most of the time before the next school year. So because of that, they'd rather get a home at no later than the beginning of August, middle of August, so they can settle in and get ready for school. the school year for their kids. So a lot of times when you put your house on the market in the spring and summertime, you get a lot more demand, a lot more traffic because the days are longer, and a lot more interest in it. So a lot of times houses don't always sit on the market long during the spring and summertime, especially if the house shows well. If it is, excuse me, if it shows well, if it is free from clear and clutter and things of that nature, and if it is priced right, it will not sit on the market long, regardless of what the interest rate is, because people are always buying homes. And people who know about how to use and leverage their home understand it's not about the interest rate. I've been stressing for the past couple of weeks to focus on the deal. It's not about the interest rate. So, have a few more questions, but if you all have any questions, please feel free to post it. And you can always call or text me. My number is right here at the bottom of the screen. And also, please follow me on all my social media, pages. Be sure to like, share my pages so everyone else can get this information too. So here goes some more questions. Is the market sales dropping? I guess they meant, are the prices of market dropping? That is relevant to location, location, location. I always say that. Now, in the Washington, D.C. area, there are still some areas where houses are selling quickly. And there are some areas where houses are sitting on the market a little longer. So is the market sales dropping? The volume of houses being sold is lower than it was last year this time. But the prices of houses being sold are slightly higher than where it was last year. So is the market sales dropping? The number of houses, yes, that has dropped a little bit. But the price of houses, no, that has gone up. So again, like I mentioned before, it's just really going to depend on the realtor you get. It's going to depend on your situation when it pertains to the housing, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Like I said, we can always talk about a strategy plan, a marketing plan for you all. If you're looking to buy or sell, feel free to contact me. I'm gonna do a couple of more questions. Hold on. The other interest rate, market sales dropping. Hold on. Let me go to the other questions. Hold on for 1 second, you all. What are tips for first-time home buyers? Okay. First-time home buyer, I would strongly suggest for you all to focus on your credit and to try to save some money. If you don't have any money saved up, there are programs out here for first-time home buyers, but the programs today are not like the programs were yesterday. And what I mean by that is there are many programs out here. The programs come and go, but here's the thing. If you don't purchase a home, like really when the funds are there, they get depleted. Like, for example, in DC right now, the money for HPAC and EPAC, they have run out of funds, and they're hoping to be back restored in October, which is roughly 3 months from now, because tomorrow is July 1st. So people who've been relying on that money, now they can't buy a home. They have to put everything on hold. So this is the reason why I said to try to save some money. Do not always rely solely on programs, because they're not the same today as they were yesterday. Another thing is, though, programs today tend to be income restricted. So a lot of people nowadays make much more money than they did 5, 10, 15 years ago. So the programs, what they did was they restructured the guidelines, because what was happening before was, let's say the programs were based off first come, first serve, and you had people who were single, who were making good money, taking advantage of the program, and then you had mothers who had to make arrangements for their children who weren't making good money, who would come, and then the money will be ran out for them. So it wasn't fair to those people who really needed it compared to people who actually didn't need it. So they changed and restructured a lot of the guidelines. Like I mentioned one time before, I had a client before, and this was, I think, in 2011, and she was making like close to 100,000. She didn't have any kids. She had a nice car, and she was like, I need a program. She kept stressing to me, I need a program. And I explained to her she didn't qualify for the program based off her situation, because they assumed that if you made that type of money, that you should have some money saved up. So again, my advice for first time home buyers: focus on your credit. If you do not know what your credit is, I know a lot of people tend to go to Credit Karma. Credit Karma is informative, but Credit Karma I feel like give people hope, because it exaggerates a lot of people's scores. So a lot of times when you actually look at your actual scores from one of the three credit bureaus or all of the three credit bureaus, you'll tend to find that your score is totally different than what Credit Karma did. So I would recommend to get the free credit report. And I'm going to put these numbers up here because those numbers that I just put there at the bottom, those are the three credit bureaus. I would suggest you to strongly call them. They're going to walk you through a prompt when they're going to ask for your birthday, your social security number, street address you lived on, and all of this. Order your free credit report. Look at your credit situation right now before anyone else looks at it, because your credit report is like your financial DNA. Look at your credit report, and then once you look at your credit report, then you can determine based off that what you need to do, whether your credit is in good standing, because if it is in good standing, you can move forward, speak with a realtor and also a lender to get approved for a home loan, and then to see if you do qualify for a loan. And if it is not in good standing, then you can evaluate your situation to see whether or not you yourself need to work on your credit and do some things to adjust it, to fix it, or if you want to speak with a credit specialist. I do, like most realtors, work with a credit specialist. The credit specialist that I work with, she's been doing my credit, my own personal credit, for about 8-9 years. And the reason why I use her personally is because I don't like to refer anyone that I wouldn't trust myself. So even when I first doing business with her, I had to see how she worked to make sure that she was good and legit, because I had experienced in the past some credit repair people who were not of good ethics and good business standards. So, like I said, if someone needs a credit repair person, please let me know. But if you feel as though it's a situation that you can do some things yourself, I would strongly suggest you look in your situation. Just take the time. See, the thing about us nowadays, most people don't take the time to do the little tedious thing. You will spend 2 hours on Instagram or Facebook, but you won't spend 20 minutes evaluating your own credit situation to increase your future. So sometimes it's all about priorities, and you all know who you are, But nevertheless, there's the numbers right there for the three credit bureaus. So call them basically to help with your credit. So my advice to first-time home buyer was to look at your credit first, try to save some money, and then from there you can see whether or not you qualify for first-time home buyer programs by speaking with a local lender and a realtor. Great question. Let me see what the other questions are like. Okay, that's a long one. Hold on for 1 second. I'm reading this question. Okay, this question said, what is your recommendation for family who have small children and want to live in a nice area and also have older kids who want to be in an area that's not too far? What would be my recommendation as far as picking or not picking certain neighborhoods? Okay, well, here's the thing that I'm going to say about that. Okay, let me summarize the question. Basically, it's saying that people have small kids and they have older kids, and they're trying to determine whether or not certain neighborhoods to pick. I will always strongly suggest that you have a family discussion if you're going to take with your grown kids into consideration. But also keep this in mind: you're the one paying the mortgage, not them. So you can take what you can take everything into consideration, but in a couple of years, most likely they'll be gone. So when you buy this house, depends on how long you plan on having a house, and it depends on what you're trying to do. Always, when you're looking at homes, determine what area you're going to live in first, whether it's for school purposes, recreation purposes, churches, or if it is convenient for work. Always determine where you want to be, else you're going to be all over the place, because there are many beautiful homes out here in many beautiful areas, but they may not be convenient to your job. They may not be convenient to your church. They may not be convenient for your grown kids to go hang out at or whatever. You have to determine that for yourself. But at the same time, like I said, if you want to factor in with your grown kids have to say, then factor that. Priority for me would be what's the best school for your kids, and then how convenient it is to your work. That's my opinion. But my thing is though is hold a family discussion. You all can determine which ones is best for you in reference to your kid situation or your job situation. But remember, you're the one paying the mortgage. Them grown kids gonna be gone eventually. A lot of times they ain't contributing enough, and all they doing is creating trash, problems, and headaches. So it's up to you, really. But I just want to suggest that you hold a family discussion, because that's always the first thing. Hold a talk, and then go from there. And that way you can determine a whole lot when it pertains to what you want to do. So I'm gonna do one more question, you all. Hold on. Okay, someone says, I'm looking to purchase investment properties and land. How will I go about that? That's a great question. Now, when it pertains to um, investment properties can be tricky depending on people. And what I mean by that, meaning if you already don't own a property, it can be tricky in that aspect, because when you get your home loan, unless you're buying with cash, when you get your home loan, there's a question that's asked: is this going to be your primary residential, or if it's going to be an investment property? The lenders ask that question. Okay, and if you don't already own a home, 9 times out of 10 they assume it's your primary residential. But if you're going to use it as an investment property, then the reason why they ask is the reason they can charge higher interest rate and things of this nature. I mean, there's other reasons too, but that's just a summary of my professional opinion. But at the same time, though, and if you do own a home and you want to purchase another home as an investment property, that's going to determine on which loan product is on your first home, whether you have a FHA, conventional, VA loan, or if you purchased it for cash. That's going to determine your second one. Because, for example, let's say hypothetically you have a conventional loan on your first home, and then you want to get an investment property, and then you're trying to use a conventional loan for your second home. For your second home, you're going to have to put down roughly 20% of the purchase price, because it is an investment property, and they know that one of your two property is an investment property. So a lot of times the strategy is to mix mortgages, and that means, like, if you have a conventional on the first one, you might want to get an FHA on the second one, because you'll end up paying less for the down payment. And then if you have vice versa, let's say FHA on the first one, you're going to get a conventional on the second one. But that all is going to depend. So if you want to buy investment property, an agent like myself will have to sit down with you to analyze your financial situation, and for us to come up with a strategy on how to move. Because getting properties, you know what I'm saying, it can be swift, but it always determines how you're purchasing, where you're purchasing, what you're doing. Some people buy investment properties as rental properties. Some people buy investment properties as flips. So it's really going to depend on which investment property is for you. If you're getting an investment property as a rental, that's one strategic. If you're getting an investment property as a flip, that's another strategic, because a person who's getting it as a flip, they don't necessarily have to use a loan. They could do hard money lender, and that's a whole nother conversation. So again, I always like to hold these conversations when people say they want to get investment properties about, do you currently own? Yes or no? What are you trying to do? Rental, flip? You know what I'm saying? A lot of these questions have to be answered, determine on which way we can move, and then we can determine how to move forward. So, and then also people who want to purchase land. It's no problem with purchasing land and everything. A lot of times you just have to get a loan for that and stuff. You can't use a residential loan for purchasing land. You can either excuse me, I'm getting tongue tied. You can either use cash, and there's also other loan products to purchase the land. But a lot of times it's not necessarily conventional loan, depending on where the land is, what the land is being used for. Some people want to buy land to try to build a house on top. Some people want to buy land because they want to do farming. So that's also going to determine a person's situation too. So I always like to say it just really depends. So we will have to hold a deeper conversation for you to answer certain questions, and then I can elaborate more on what the next step would be. So, hey, y'all, I love that Q&A. Thank you. So the next segment, I'll be back in a second. All right, y'all. Thank you all for the questions that you all gave me. I hope that I answered your questions for you. So I want to, my next topic of discussion is sons and daughters. And I wanted to elaborate on sons and daughters in a different way because over the years, I have four girls, one boy. I remember hearing one time somebody said, "Oh, you must have did some females wrong. You got those girls and everything." And and like as you all know, I look out for my mother all the time, like a lot of sons do. Um, and there was an incident that occurred a couple of weeks ago, but it just became like a hot topic of discussion on social media where the guy who was inside the carryout was beaten. He started punching this woman, and the woman's 14-year-old son went to get the gun out the car and shot and killed him. And there was a big debate about it and everything. And I always like to tell people, like especially those people who used to say, "Oh, you got all those girls and stuff like that." This is what people don't understand about how the universe works. Sons were created to look out for their mothers. Daughters were created to love their fathers. Because a lot of times the love a daughter gives to their father, and even though it's unconditional and it's a father-daughter relationship, it's a strong and unique bond. Just like with sons and mothers, it's a strong and unique bond. That's why when that boy went and got the gun, and I'm glad they dropped the case because, in my opinion, first of all, he was a punk for punching on a female. You know what I'm saying? He was punching her like she was some punk dude that he knew he can whoop. Because if he knew that that was a guy that can fight, he wouldn't have been doing none of that stuff. And then I saw something in the comment sections in which he used to date a woman and he was doing that before. But I also said that he was very comfortable with doing that because the way he did it. And there was no reason at all for him to punch her. No reason whatsoever for him to punch because he was wrong. But just like that young man who went and, saw his mother being threatened and harmed and went to protect his mother. See, a lot of people don't understand sons come into this world to look out for their mothers. The problem nowadays is you got a lot of sons who are grown who don't look out for their mothers. And there are a lot of daughters who are supposed to love and look out for their fathers because that's a unique relationship. See, girls were put in this world to give daddy that love, to show daddy the love because most of the time the daddies who have girls have never been given that love by a woman like that daughter has shown her. And the same thing for sons. A lot of sons who come into this world who are protecting their mother, the mothers have never really had that protection from a man. So the sons are here to protect and look out for their mother in so many ways. So that was a terrible situation that occurred, and it's unfortunate that a 14-year-old did that. And I pray that they move out that city because even though he was wrong, you're still going to have people, and especially in the black community, when people do wrong, you have people who don't hold others accountable and they want to deflect and be on the defensive of nah, this happened and everything. But here's the thing: there are consequences to every action out here that people do, whether you realize it or not. There are consequences to when we do right and to when we do wrong. Karma comes back in many ways and form. So I'm just saying when it pertains to sons and daughters, I think that, if you ever looked at relationship, for example, with daughters, and when daughters are in the same households as the mother, when daughters get to a certain age, they got to leave. You know why? Because it can't be two queens in the house because they're going to always clash. They always clash, and mothers and daughters are always clashing like cats. And then when there's sons and fathers in the same household, a lot of times, they clash and stuff too because it can't be two kings in the house. So, but a lot of times, if you notice that sons are always looking out for mother. That's why when you see professional athletes make it, the first thing they say is, "I want to buy my mother a house." Mom, you can retire. That's what sons do for their mothers. And then when it pertains to daughters, especially the daughters who had their fathers around, a lot of them are daddy's girls when they grown. And when their fathers pass away, they are devastated. You understand? Because a lot of times when people realize that the unconditional love that people are that daughters are given from their fathers a lot of times has not been matched in the world by men. You got men who don't show love to their girlfriends or their wives, but their father has always loved them. And the same thing with boys and their mothers. You got a lot of women who's never been protected, who've never had anyone to stand up for them, but their sons. So when I look at these things with sons and daughters, you know, I think people got it all wrong when they say, "Oh, like you have all them girls, you must have dogged all these women." No, sometimes you could have been the best man to all these women, and they just never knew how to love you. That's why you have daughters. Daughters are to love their fathers, and then sons are to protect their mothers. That's how the world goes. But people don't even see that because they're so stuck on some old saying back before I was even born. And I'm 51, they stuck on some saying, "Oh, you must have been dogs. That's why you got girls." No, you got the girls to look out for daddies, and you got the sons to look out for mothers. And for all those sons who ain't looking out for their mothers, you need to be looking out for your mother. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you don't know what your mother has been through. A lot of women go out here and they've been through so much with dealing with men. You know what I'm saying? They've been dogged by men, used by men, you know what I'm saying? Abused by men, mentally, physically, you know what I'm saying? Sexually, emotionally. And the sons, you all need to be there and stuff. Y'all don't know what a lot of women have gone through. A lot of women have been through so much. And I'm not saying us as men haven't gone through things, but at the same time, you got to understand sons are here to protect their mothers always and forever. Always and forever, regardless of how old the son is, regardless of how old the mother is, whether it's young, like the 14-year-old protecting his mother, or whether it's they're old. And daughters are always going to love their daddies, especially the daddies that's been in their life. That's why sometimes when you see the fathers who haven't been in their kids' life, especially their daughter's life, and then the fathers get older and they start getting sick and their health start deteriorating, and then now they want to come around and be nice to their kids, and their kids ain't got no love for them because you never showed any love towards them. You know, in this world, sometimes what we put out there, we get back. Whether we get it back today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now, you're going to get it back. And then also, and I always say that because, like, for example, I was talking to someone yesterday and we were talking about like money, you know what I'm saying? And I was saying all money ain't good money. Sometimes, and I use this as an example, and I'm gonna share it with y'all. I said a person could go out there and break into somebody's home and they got 500,000 in cash stash, and they go steal the money and they kill the people and stuff like that. And they get the money and they take that 500 in cash and they go buy cars and they go buy a house and they go buy clothes and stuff. But that's stained money. You know what ends up happening? That car they bought ends up getting in a car crash. The house they bought ends up catching on fire or get water or flood damage or electrical damage. The clothes they got and everything, you know what I'm saying, ends up getting missing, stolen, or anything. The money is not good money. All money is not good money. And the things that come to you sometimes come from you from the money and the things that you do. Because here's the thing: the love of money is the root of all evil. Not the usage of money, the love of money. Because some people will kill you over a dime. They will kill you over $1. You know what I'm saying? For what? The money gonna come and go. People not. See, there's certain things you can never get back in this world. That's time and people. You'll never be able to get back people that you lost in your life, that you wish you had 5 minutes to spend. You would give up all the money for some of the people, all the money that you got for somebody in your life that you can spend 5 minutes with. You would give up all the money, and time. Look at the age. You know what I'm saying? We can't get back time. Like, I'm 51. I was playing basketball the other day and stuff. I was tired, y'all. Normally, I'm not tired. Now, the gym was extremely hot, and I think that probably played a role in it. But I started thinking, like, dang, like, when I was 25, I could play all day. But what I'm saying is you can't get time back, y'all. You can't get time, and you can't get people back. Because we all got loved ones that we wish can have back. I know sometimes I think about my 3 brothers that I do not have, and I wish that they were still alive. And if I had to scrape up every penny I had to have them here, I would, if I knew I can do it. And I'm saying the same thing. You can't get time and you can't get people back. And when I also say that, meaning time, invest time in your sons and your daughters. Invest time, knowledge into them, and it will return a harvest for you in your life. But you have to also understand, sons are here to protect your mother and also the women in your life. And I'm not just saying your mother, I mean your girlfriend, wife, your daughters. Sons are here to protect the women in their life, and daughters are here to love the men in their life. So when people were talking about this guy who was punching and he did what he did, it's unfortunate. But see, here's what I also thought: like, what if his son wasn't in? What if she had crazy boyfriend who had some people and they saw that? See, for people to do stuff like that, you're too comfortable. You've gotten away with too much, and a lot of times you didn't have the male in your life to show you what to do and not to do. Because there are certain things in this world that you do not do, regardless of what goes on. I don't care what goes on, where it goes on. There's certain things you do not do. But unfortunately, in this thing called life, people think they can get away with whatever. But reality is you can't get away with whatever. And the fact is, though, is I want people to understand that whatever you put out there in life, you're going to get back. You're going to get back. Good or bad, you're going to get it back. So I just want you all to clearly understand that when I'm talking about sons and daughters, I'm talking about fathers and mothers. I'm talking about fathers who need to really invest. I've seen some guys who would rather spend more time going to a social event, being around strangers, just so they can look at some women that they think they're gonna get, but ain't got no game. And or they think the women gonna come talk to them. You know what I'm saying? That's how some guys act. They think the women gonna go talk to them. Yeah, whatever. But here's the case. What I'm trying to make is my daughter, my youngest daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, I dedicate every Sunday to her time. And there are many events and many things that go on that people invite me to, and they're on Sunday. And people are like, oh, come to this, come to this. Every Sunday invitation that I get, I decline. I don't care where it is or what it's to, because my day is dedicated to her. Even when I flew out of town, I made sure that I came back Saturday night so I can spend time with her on Sunday. And I got a couple of events that I got to go to in August, maybe out of town. And my effort is going to be to try to be back in time so I can spend time with her. Because see, here's this thing about life. Like I mentioned before, there's some things we'll never be able to get back: time and people. And while we're here on this earth, we have to make a conscious effort to spend time with our sons and daughters so they can grow up to look out for their mothers and fathers. So when people want to talk about the young boy who did this and everything, he was justifying what he's doing. Because when you care and love someone, you're going to protect them, especially as men. Men are going to protect every female that's in their life, beginning with their mother, their daughters, their girlfriends, their wives. They're going to protect them. That's what they're supposed to do. They ain't supposed to not protect them. You're supposed to protect them, you know. And daughters, they look out for their fathers because, hey, in some cases, if the daughters don't look out for their fathers, who will? That's why some men are giving daughters to look out for them, because there'll never be a woman in their life that's going to look out for them. And that's why some mothers are giving sons to look out for them. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people who just have sons or just have daughters. I'm not saying in any case like that, but I'm just saying that it's a certain level that comes when you have a child of the opposite sex, because they look out for you when you have looked out for them and taken care of them their entire life. They're going to look out for you. It's a natural habit. And if they don't, then something's wrong. But again, I want to say to all the fathers who out there who got sons and daughters, invest time in them, especially if they're young. If they're older, that's different. You can always reach out to them every now and then, but invest time in your kids. That's all I can tell you when it pertains to that. Look out for your sons and daughters, and your sons and daughters will look out for you. But understand, when it pertains to fathers, the daughters are especially going to look out for you. That's why daddy and daughters have a certain connection, and that's daddy's girl. That's why they had that. You know what I'm saying? Daughters are crazy about their father. When I leave my daughter, they cry. When my grown kids were young and I used to leave, they used to cry. They don't cry no more. They grown and got their own lives and personalities now. But when my 3-year, when I leave her, don't matter. I gotta sneak out when I leave her. You know what I'm saying? Or she gonna go off, because the connection we have. And the same thing with boys and their mothers. Boys are crazy about their mother. My mother wasn't in my life. She didn't raise me, but I know I'm supposed to look out for and protect her. I've always known that. So you got to know, men, that you're supposed to look out for your mothers always. I don't care what your mother did or did not do, because the fact is, though, is you are here. And if you love you, you're going to love her, because here's the thing. She could have aborted you and you wouldn't have been here. And if she would have aborted you and you weren't here, then what? Of course, you wouldn't exist, but guess what? You exist. So you can't put all the blame on everything that went wrong on your parents. Because here's the thing, we control our own life. We control our hands. See how I'm controlling my hand? We control our mouth. We control our body. Therefore, we control the results of our lives. We can't put the blame on parents all the time. We can't put the blame on society all the time. Yes, life is not fair. Yes, there are many situations that we all have been in that we like, dang, you know what I'm saying? I could throw 100 things that have happened to me that people don't even know because they look at me like, Dad, you don't look like you've been. But I've been through a lot in my lifetime. I've been through hurricane and her in Miami in '92. I've been through guns being pointed in my face from people in the street through the FBI. I've been through so much. I'm not even gonna go on. I just been through so much. But here's the thing: you have too. You've been through stuff too. But here's the thing about life. See, what I learned is, and I know some of you have learned this as well. Life is not always about what happens to you because something is going to happen to everyone. Life is about how you respond to what happens to you. And if you keep making excuses, you're going to keep being stuck right where you at. And it's going to be like a quicksand. And you're going to watch everybody go past you and everybody's life changing and accelerating and doing something different because you're focused on the wrong thing. You're making excuses. I always say people always find a reason for why not to do something, but they'll find a reason to do something. If you say, oh, meet me at this cemetery at 2:30 a.m. and I'm going to give you $10,000 cash, be on time. I guarantee you they're going to find a way and an effort. See, it's not always about what's going on. It's about their priority and what's important to you. Because when something's important to you, you make a will, a way, and an effort. And that's when it has to be when it pertains to sons and daughters. Because here's the thing. Sometimes when we have our kids, we always have kids that always feel like as parents, we have a favorite. They'll say, oh, you like this one better than me, or da da da, and all this other stuff. But it's not always that a parent likes kids better. Sometimes parents can tell by their kids' personality and character that which one needs more attention from them, which one is going to act a certain way. That's how it is as parents. You know your kids better than anyone. So you can figure things out about your kids and you know which one requires more and which one can be self-sufficient and which one can do this or can do that or can't do this or can't do that. See, that's the study and the know-how of a parent. But kids, sometimes they think you got favorites. Like with my kid, they all say, oh, my son, my favorite, because he's the only boy. I told them they all hold a special place with me. My oldest, because she's my first child. My middle, my daughter I got custody of because she's the only one I raised. My son, because he's the only boy. My other daughter, me and her spent a lot of time together. Now my baby, she went through 2 open heart surgeries, and she's my miracle child. All of my kids hold a special place with me. Every single one. They might get on my nerves. I'm talking about the grown ones, but they all hold a special place for me. And the thing about it is, but I've always tried to be there for them. They can't never say I wasn't there. And if I wasn't there, guess what? It wasn't because I knew. It was because they probably didn't tell me something about something I didn't know. Because if I knew, I'm going to be there. That's just what you do as a parent. And like I said, I always try to look out for my mother because as men, as sons, we are to protect our mothers and look out for our mothers. And as daughters, you're to love your fathers. And as daughters, you're to stop clashing with your mothers, especially when you're grown, because there's a lot of daughters who clash with their mothers. Da 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 da. That's 2 cats. You know what I'm saying? That's why daughters got to get out the house and get their own, because it can't be 2 queens in the house. Same with sons. They got to get out the house, get their own, because it can't be 2 kings in the house. And once you get your own, you start to figure out and see a lot of things of what's going on in this world. But I just wanted to share that when it pertains to parents, love your daughters and sons. Love them because they're going to reciprocate that love back to you. And if you don't love them, guess what? They're going to reciprocate that too. It's just a matter of time. So to all the fellas, if you haven't spent any time with your mother, if you haven't seen her, go. Because my mother's in a nursing home and I make an effort to go see her a minimum of 3 times a week. That's the minimum. Sometimes I'm up there every day in a week. I go different times. They don't know when I'm coming. But here's the thing. I make the effort to do so. And a lot of times in this world, in this life, all it is about effort. See, some of you don't put forth for effort, but you'll put forth for effort to play video games. You'll put forth for effort to go to a lounge and look at a bunch of females that you don't even know, hoping that you can get lucky with one of them. You'll put the effort to do these things, but you don't put the effort in something that you own, and that's your kids and your parents. You know what I'm saying? And then you wonder why life doesn't turn out the way you want. You wonder why you don't have good luck with things. You wonder why, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, are going through all these problems and stuff like that. See, it's called the law of the universe. You get out what you put back in. And I'm not saying that good things happen to all good people, because sometimes people, you know, it's just the way things are. But when your heart is in the right place and you're genuine about what you do, things tend to work itself out. I understand it's going to be trial and tribulations, because that's life. Everybody has gone through trial and tribulations. Look in the Bible, from Jesus to everyone. Everyone has gone through something. You know what I'm saying? None of us are immune to going through some hardship, whether it is, you know, financial, or whether it is pertaining to heartaches or whatever. We all go through something. But like I said, it ain't always what you go through, it's how you respond. And if you don't know how to respond, sometimes take a moment to pause. Take a nap if you have to clear your mind. But at least make an effort. Take time. And like I said, you can't get time or people back. So invest in the people who are here with time. And that begins with your immediate family, your mother, your sons, your daughter, your girlfriend, your wife. Invest time. Because once time is gone, it's gone forever. And once they're gone forever. So, like I said at the beginning of this message, sons are for mothers to protect their mothers and all the females in their life. And daughters are to show love to their fathers and their family. That's what I got to say about sons and daughters. I hope you all like my message, and I'll be back in a second. All right, y'all. I want to thank you all for joining me. Please make sure you all follow me on all my social media platforms. It is hashtag Damon the Agent, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat. I'm on all platforms, as you can see right here. Please follow me, and also check out my website, damontheagent.com. And also, please visit and call or text me at this number if you have any questions pertaining to real estate, or if there's a topic or subject you want me to talk about. I pray that you each have a great and wonderful 4th of July. Be safe out there, you know what I'm saying, with the fireworks, and just be safe in general. And I'll see you next week. Y'all have a great one.